hopefully that should start now. So as I went through yesterday, all of our information is now on the website. So in December, we submitted everything to iFate, and it was everything to do with the final TQ spec that was basically the qualification handbook. And right, basically the last knock-ins just before Christmas, we got confirmation that everything had been approved by iFate, and then we could start rolling out this information, getting things on our website, get it populated to give you guys as much notice as possible to prepare for September. So when you go on our website, I'm not going to do a website navigation. We can at the end if there's a little bit of time, but it just takes a bit of time jumping on and off Teams and sharing screens and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a number of ways in which you can find the content that's on the website. One of the quickest and one of the easiest is basically from basically the Sitting Guilds homepage. If you type in the qualification number, which is 8711 for construction, and then select the qualification that will be listed below, that is probably the quickest way to find the qualification. So when you go on any of the websites, go into the search bar and search for 8711, and it'll take you straight to the construction T-level qualification. Another way is, sorry, I'm going to go back to that. Another way is within our construction area on the website, it's also listed now amongst all of the other qualifications. And if you've seen the construction section of the website, there is a lot of qualifications on there. And sometimes it can be difficult to find it, but it is in there if you wanted to go through and find it in that area of the website. Or another area is on our website, we have a specific T-level section. And within that section of the website, it is also listed for construction and BSc. And if you were to follow that route, that again will take you straight to the qualification. So there are a number of ways in which you can get to the information you need on our website. When you get there, what you'll find is a very, very similar picture as to every other qualification that we have on our website and the way everything's laid out. So with regards to once you log into the T-level qualification 8711, we have our information tab, which covers everything. It's got the QAN numbers in there, the GLH, the TQT, all the specifics that you might need around the qualification, even information that you might want to put on leaflets for parents and for students or on your website about the qualification. So there's a lot of info on there. Then on the second tab, as you'll probably be familiar with, we have everything with regards to our assessment materials and our centre documents. And I know none of the screenshots on there show any of the assessment materials. That's because when you open them boxes, there is a lot. So we couldn't screenshot it all. But within there, you've got sample assessment materials. They're all on there for our core component, the 2 exams and the employer set project. Then you've got, and there's such a range of examples in there for those. And then you've also got within the trades, whether it's bricklaying, carpentry joinery, paint and decorating or plastering, you've also got the sample assessment materials in there for both learner and assessor. And nothing is password protected, so you should be able to go straight on and be able to open any and all of the documents that's available on the website. Then you've got the under the Centre Documents tab, you have the actual qualification handbook, and that's what we're going to try and focus on today, is just to make you more familiar with the handbook and the sections that you'll need to start focusing on, and then just quite quickly having a quick look at carpentry and joinery, and then again taking questions from the floor. Moving forward throughout the session today. So in the email from Eventbrite, it should have said that a second device will be handy. But even if you don't have a second device, I just want you to spend a couple of minutes really, open up the TQ handbook, the qualification handbook, and start looking at the pages that have been listed on the screen, between page 11 and 12, 15 and 16, 19 and 21, just high level stuff really, just to get you familiar with some of the earlier pages within our handbook, because we quite often find when tutors pick up qualification handbooks, and I've been guilty of this myself when I was teaching in FE, you go straight to the content, you go straight to the units, because ultimately that's what, what got to do my schemes of work, got to make sure I'm covering everything with regards to exams and whatnot. But a lot of the earlier pages are just as important and can be very reassuring as well. with regards to putting your minds at ease. It's a new product. People panic, oh no, what is it going to be? So just having a look at those earlier pages will help familiarize yourself with them, but help you in getting familiar with what the requirements are going to be for these qualifications. For example, everybody, you know, new product, panicking over T-levels. You know, with regards to carpentry and joinery, it doesn't matter how the government want to brand these qualifications, whether it is a T-level or an apprenticeship standard or framework. Carpentry and joinery hasn't just changed overnight because of that. So the technicalities of what carpenters and joiners do is exactly the same. You know, a roof is still a roof. It's not called a T-level roof, or it's not called an apprenticeship roof. A roof is still a roof. So what you'll find is when you're looking at some of the pages, the earlier pages in the handbook, when it's looking at the resource requirements, that when you look at the physical resources, that they're exactly the same as what they've always been, because, you know, and I've, you know, given you guys more reassurance that when it comes to those elements, you know, I've got more than enough confidence that centres will be able to deliver these competently and confidently throughout. So all I want you to do is just spend a couple of minutes, please, have a look at the qualification handbook. Apologies if you were on the session yesterday. It's the same task, but for new colleagues on the call today, just have a look on the qualification handbook at those pages and start and find what the POS number is going to be for the carpentry and joinery occupational specialism. You might want to have a look at what it is for the core. Then you've got the Sitting Guilds component number, also known as an assessment number. So you know you're going to need to be aware of that as well. And just once you've done it, once you've had a good look at it, including the resources and the induction requirements, if you could just put your hand up, just so that we know that people are able to access the TQ handbook and have had a chance to have a look at these parts of it. So I'll give you a minute or so. If you can put your hand up when you've had a good look and you're confident that you know where you need to go to find it. Whilst we're doing that, if anybody's got any questions as well, please feel free to. I know I'm asking people to put their hand up, so if you could just feel free to come off mute. Hopefully we can manage it. Or feel free to put anything in the chat bar, and we'll cover any and all questions that we can. Silence. When we did this yesterday with the bricklayers, they had a lot of questions, and good and rightly so. You know, there's no silly questions when it comes to the T levels. If you have got a question and you want to put your hand up and leave it up, then we know who we can come to. We have a hand up. Colin, do you want to come off mute and ask a question if you've got a question?
Sorry, Jason, it was just to say that I'd looked at the website and found what I needed to find.
All right, brilliant.
So that was what it was.
Some people haven't got access to a second device, so that's absolutely fine. We just want to make sure that you're able to find the handbook, and once in there, can ultimately start having a look through it and having a look at the particulars that are relevant to the qualification as well. Are there any questions before we move on? Okay. So hopefully.
Sorry, Jason. Colin's got his hand up.
I think that was from before, Ali.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so just looking at the handbook a little bit more. So this is actually going into the components now, or the units as we are probably more familiar as knowing them as. And the layout is pretty similar as before. So as with every one of our handbooks, you have the learning outcomes and you have the criteria listed, and then you have the range as well. And that's pretty much constant, especially in the construction handbooks. I can't talk for other sectors, but especially for construction. And you know, we know what they do. We know what the range is for, and everything else. But what's new is the two sections at the bottom there. So we have the what do learners need to learn, and we have the skills. Can I just ask everyone to go on mute? I think we've just had somebody join who I may need to. There, I think it's muted. So yeah, with those two sections there, if you need to do any sort of mapping, whether it's on schemes of learning or sorry, yeah, so on the section on the right there in the grey, you've got the skills, and that's related to the core skills and the general competencies that we cover for sort of maths, English and digital. So if you, again, as I said before, if you're mapping these to schemes of learning or to lesson plans, etc., the mapping's already been sort of done for you. So those are listed there. And if you go earlier on in the handbook, you'll find that what those core skills are and what those general competencies relate to. So that's all in the handbook as well. Then you've got the what the learners need to learn. And basically what this does, it takes the range and just highlights in a little bit more detail the key elements that need to be covered. So just smack bang in the middle of the box there, it talks about sort of welfare facilities and everything else. So it's just going into a little bit more detail as to what needs to be covered with regards to the legislation and regulations above. So hopefully you guys will be able to find that helpful, and that you can share that with learners. You know, if you're doing introductory sessions to the component, or whether it's to a learning outcome within your lessons, you might want to share that with learners, whether it's via a work pack or whatever means is relevant to your learners and suitable for your learners. You can share that with them so they know what's kind of coming up and what sort of future reading or research or whatever it is that they're going to need to do to support their learning on that program. So you can share that with them as well, and that can be taken straight out of the TQ and cut and paste into any sort of documentation you use, really. So looking at the occupational specialism in a bit more, so forget about the core. Just want you to, if you've got it on a second device, just spend a couple of minutes just having a quick flick through the Carpentry Joinery section of the Qualification Handbook, and let's take some questions. We know the Carpentry Joinery has been combined for the purpose of this T-level, and colleagues on this call today who supported through validation and everything else know that we've been taking that feedback since before the summer last year, and we've been constantly feeding that back to IFATE and the regulatory bodies. We'll continue to feed that back, but ultimately to feed that back, we need the feedback from you. We can't just say that, you know, Paul Brown says the Carpentry Joinery shouldn't be combined. We need to know that it's Paul Brown from such and such a college has this to say about it and why it should or shouldn't be combined, because there's arguments for both, you know, as we expect. And does it need combining for just assessment, or should it be split for everything? So we're constantly taking that feedback, because ultimately we're here to listen to our centres as well and feed that back accordingly. So we won't focus on that with regards to this activity, but if you have got any other questions relating to Carpentry Joinery, and this is where yesterday with the bricklayers it did open up quite a bit of good discussion with some of the elements that were in there. But with regards to the joinery split, I am going to just quickly share the next slide with you. And that link and that QR code, so if you have your second device or maybe even third device and you've got a QR scanner, especially on a mobile device, if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to an online survey where we're collating any and all feedback relating to the Carpentry Joinery. And like I said, we do feed that back. So, you know, if we don't have your voice recorded, we can't feed it back. So I must stress that. It's pointless coming back to us in 6 months when you're just about to deliver this and say, why is this still, why haven't we fed back to IFATE? We need your feedback ultimately to feed it back to them. So have a quick look at the qualification handbook, complete that survey if you like, entirely up to you, and we'll kind of open it up for discussion again. Put your hand up and we'll take questions, or like we've said, put it in the chat bar, and we'll try and answer them as best we can. Do we have anything in the chat bar yet? My colleague Alison has shared the link to the qualification handbook in the chat bar as well, just in case anybody has been struggling to find it. Whilst people are doing that, I just wanted to open up another discussion and take some feedback really, and it's on the back of something BSE do quite successfully really, and it's about having a forum to support you guys away from kind of emails and stuff, and what we've sort of discussed is the use of, say, LinkedIn. It's probably the best platform for what we want to use it for. Teams isn't ideal, and we've had a look at a couple others, and it's not great. And what happens is on LinkedIn we already have our Sitting Guilds construction group, which is really good, and we post information on there from Naz, Pauline, and myself. We put the email alerts up there, we put newsletters up there, anything from CITB or other bodies, the professional bodies we associate with that might be useful for you. But we wanted to look at something more specific to T levels really, and BSE, I know that they have a I think it's for the year 2 or 2. I think that's like the qualification they use it for, and it's basically their technical, where it's used as it is a group. People have to request to join, and we will be limiting it to construction only. But it's for you guys really to sort of share practices, go on, ask questions, ask for advice. If somebody's, if you've got joiners that are looking to create resources and schemes of work, and another college is doing exactly the same, could you split it? Could you do half each? Could you share? Can we engage centres a bit more? Because we used to have under Bark, we had the construction heads. We used to have the vocational groups, and they worked well. I mean, I'm in the region of the northeast. They worked well for a while, but over time and staffing changes in centres, they kind of depleted. But it's kind of trying to sort of get that going again. But let's get it just for construction. So just by way of a comment in the chat bar, really, would a LinkedIn group, would you use it first and foremost? Do you feel it would be helpful? Because we're looking at any and all angles that to support you guys really, and that is just another one where my computer might be logged off, you guys might be working at home, I might log on to LinkedIn, might be able to take questions whilst I'm flicking through social media, that type of thing, or you might just want to post a question to everybody on there who may be able to help out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with the qualification. It could be related to work experience, etc. Whatever that may look like. And basically, if you could either raise your hands or put it in the chat, do you feel that would be useful? Somebody's put in, if anybody has any ideas, whether it's LinkedIn or another platform we could use, LinkedIn seems to be the one that probably gets the most traction, to be honest, and that's why we've kind of put that one at the forefront. Basically, a lot of people are utilizing social media now, and what we can do is we can set that up. We can set the group up by the end of this week, and what we'll do is we can happily share the group with everybody on the sessions this week for construction. And what you would then do is you would just request to join, and we'd manage the group, but ultimately it is for you guys to populate with comments, with resources, with whatever good practices. Alison might find something from a college that she feels could be useful. Naz might be able to take something that she's heard from CITB or within industry. Paul might hear of something that's happening on a QCF qualification or within EPAs that could be useful. And we would post that on there as we do with our other construction group. But for this, it will be specific for T-levels, or T-levels and technicals, we can call it. So hopefully that'll be of some use to you guys. We've had a question. I just wanted to go back to the comment as well about this joinery discussion and about, you know, getting your feedback. And Alison put a comment on in the chat, and it's worth bringing it up. Back a year or so ago, BSE was every qualification was paired with another, and it was through our validation process and the feedback we got from centres that we were able to challenge IFATE and get ultimately some of them split, i.e. electrical is now standalone, and I think there's 2 or 3 others as well. So what we're just trying to point out is your feedback works. You know, we listen to it, we record it, and we report back on that, and ultimately make changes that are more, you know, more suitable for you guys to deliver. So, you know, it is really important that we do collate as much information and feedback from you guys as possible. And if you have already completed the survey, we appreciate that. We've had one question. Students will have to take on a placement for some of the qualification. Are they able to do this unpaid? No, they don't take on a placement as part of the qualification. The T-level is a program of study, basically, and one of those elements is industrial placement. Now, that is monitored by the funding authorities and Ofsted, etc. For us and for this qualification, there's no element of work placement in the qualification. There is on a T-level, which is the program, but not necessarily for the qualification. And it's industrial placement. If employees want to pay them, that's fine. If they have to do it unpaid, then, you know, so be it. It's about learners gaining that experience so that once they complete the T-level, that they're in a much better position to progress into employment or into an apprenticeship. And sometimes, yeah, you know, they will have to work unpaid to show they're willing and show everything else, impress the employers to ultimately gain that employment and hopefully apprenticeships at the end of this as well. And that's what you guys would have to manage with your employers and your employer group. And it could be that learners do a day a week or they do it in a block, whichever format suits you and your delivery methods best is your prerogative. Hopefully that answers that for you, Richard. If it hasn't, just type another one in the chat bar and all right, cool, it has covered it. Brilliant. So hopefully everyone's either completed the survey, had a look at the occupational specialism within the qualification handbook. And again, if you've got questions, please just fire them away throughout this session. Another couple of links, another couple of documents. The approval process is pretty much well underway now. And for those that were on the call yesterday, may have already completed these, but we've got a couple of links on there. So as a provider of T-levels, if you're going to be offering T-levels, you know, we like I said, we're in that sort of centre approvals process now, but we need some information from you guys to make that process as swift as possible. So there's a couple of links there. One of them is the pre-approval form, which is mandatory for all centres that's going to be delivering T-levels. So if your centre hasn't completed that yet, and that only needs completing once by each provider, please either complete it or send it to the relevant person to complete it. And then the second one in there is, you know, we had 40 people booked for this session today. We have 26 actually in the meeting. 3 of those people are my colleagues. So there's a lot of people, and we've already had queries from others where they haven't been able to get booked on. So we're going to be doing follow-up sessions, but the point I'm trying to raise is we're kind of limiting the number of tickets we put on for these events to basically tailor it for T-level providers that are going to be providing from September. So in order for us to do that more effectively, we need information from you guys. So, you know, if we send an e-bulletin, that goes out to everybody that's signed up for the email alerts on, say, T-levels. But this contact form, what that allows us to do is target the 50 providers first. And you know, it could be, I don't know, say Paul Brown is working for a provider in the northeast and Alison's working for one in the northwest. We can email those two directly before we put any comms out and say, look, we've got some curriculum plan sessions coming up in February. Would you like to book on? Here is a link. Here is how you can register. So we can basically target that so that we can get you guys on to these sessions that need to be onto the sessions, and not those that are just registering for a little bit of CPD and to tick a box, because, you know, they may not be delivering until 2023. So, you know, please complete those documents and complete those links. It just allows us to be a bit more smart with our comms and when we're targeting our comms. So we need your help to help us help you, basically. We have I think we got a question coming in. Yeah, agree. We had it yesterday on Brick Lane as well. Again, we're trying to limit the places, but yeah, there was more people who were wanting to come on who ultimately couldn't because it had maxed out, and then only, I think yesterday we still had quite a strong percentage of people attend, but there was still quite a few that didn't, because they either registered just to get the recording, again, just to tick a box really, which isn't ideal. We have had a question. Sorry, my window cleaner has just turned up, so apologies if anyone can hear any noise in the background. Today's not going well for noise. Performance criteria outcome 2.1 mentions splatter dash on concrete. Although it's following a method statement, it seems strange with the amount of carpentry and joinery tasks which could be covered. Is this within David? Is that within the occupational specialism?
Yeah, hi Jason, it is.
Yeah, right. What we'll do is, I haven't got it open in front of us at the minute, but what I'll do is I'll follow up. So following this session today, I'll answer that in the email.
Okay, fine, thank you.
I'll cover that accordingly in the email that we'll do later on today following the session.
Thank you. I might be misinterpreting, but yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
No problem at all. Is there any more questions? Brilliant, right. Resources and support to deliver this. So, like I mentioned earlier, carpentry and joinery hasn't changed overnight because it's been branded a T-level. So there's already, you know, such a wide range of resources out there to support the delivery of carpentry and joinery. Where we feel that centres will need support is with the core component. So what Hodder Education are doing and what Sitting Guilds are doing as well is Hodder Education are producing a new range of textbooks, and they will focus purely on the core. And what Sitting Guild, and that's what is on the slide deck there. So the BSE one and the construction are the same price. BSE is going to be available from October this year, and construction on site is going to be November. We had a colleague on the session yesterday that was able to inform us that one of the original authors for construction on site has had to unfortunately pull out. So they've replaced him with the colleague that was actually on the call yesterday. So that's why there's a little bit of a delay on the construction one. So those will be available from November. With regards to Sitting Guilds resources, we are also producing a lot of support materials for the delivery of the core component. Again, these will go on to Smart Screen and they will be available from September. We're also looking and taking feedback as well on what other resources you'd like. So one of the comments yesterday was having a practical task, set of practical tasks similar to what we have for the apprenticeships for T-levels. So I'll be feeding that back. But the other thing to remember as well is obviously if you've got other textbooks from Hodder or from Sitting Guilds, they will also support the delivery of T-levels. And you know, any other resources trade-wise on Smart Screen will also support the delivery of your T-levels as well. It is worth noting that with regards to Hodder, they are open to suggestions as well. So we had a meeting with Hodder earlier last week, and they were talking about how they can support with assessments, for example. So producing a range of question banks if that would be necessary, or practical tasks again, as we've just previously mentioned, if that was necessary. So what I'll do again today, I will share with you. It's a gentleman called Thomas Stotter, and he works with Hodder Education. He's one of the chief publisher, I think he is, and he's happy to take any and all comments and feedback on what you might need, and ultimately he could. He can put that into fruition through Hodder as well. What he did say as well is long term they haven't ruled out the option to do textbooks for the occupational specialism. So what they do is every 2 or 3 years they review their textbooks anyway. So once the current round of construction trade textbooks are ready for review, it could be that they amend them slightly and introduce T-levels as well in there. Ultimately, when we get more providers delivering T-levels, there'll be more of a market there for them, and ultimately it becomes more beneficial to them and as an organisation. So we have to sort of bear that in mind as well. So there is a plethora of resources and support out there. Gary's made a comment. I agree. The practical task manual will be great. The ATM is good standard booklet to follow. Yeah, and we can certainly take that back. And if it's something that we currently have and we can rebadge it and sell it as a T-level product as well, then we certainly will. We would have to map it against the T-level. So that's sort of the front end work that's done behind the scenes that would need to take place. But I'll certainly take that back to our resource team, as I did for the bricklayers yesterday as well. I'll collate everything and report at the end of the week to our resource team on comments and feedback from these sessions. So please keep them coming in. I'll obviously be sharing email addresses for you as well. So if you've got any comments following this, I had a couple of emails late yesterday afternoon, and last night I had one from people who were attending. Any comments, any feedback, anything you'd like to see, please let us know, and we can certainly put it to the right people who would either agree it or consider it. Another survey, believe it or not, for myself, Rob, Ali, and Naz, we need to make sure that what we're offering and what we're delivering is suitable for you guys as well. So again, I'll be sending a link to this, but if you have a mobile phone and can quickly do another survey, literally seconds, I'm talking seconds, please fill it in. It gives us feedback as well on what you'd like to see, if there's things we need to maybe introduce, things do differently. So following the webinars we did before Christmas, we had some comments about having it more interactive, hence why we're using Teams, where people can quickly come off mute and ask questions, etc. So again, if you've got literally seconds to complete that, it will be really appreciated. And I have one more call for action, really. So the Department of Education is in the process of reforming the level 3 and below qualification offer. So can't stress this enough, how seriously this could affect the curriculum you guys can offer to your learners. So we're responding to the level 2 and below call for evidence. Ultimately, with level 3s, we know we've got the T-levels. But for the level 2s and below, people internally within City and Guilds are responding to the Department of Education with evidence, basically. And we need your help to do that. So if you've got 10-15 minutes for a phone call in the next 10 days or so, can you please just put yes or no in the chat bar, or if you don't want to put no, if you could put yes, literally 10 minutes, and any support you can give us will be greatly appreciated, because like I said, this could seriously, well, not could, it will seriously affect your curriculum moving forward if the government continue this review of culling funding on certain programs, and especially within our sector, where the diversity of learners leaving our sector, the diversity of the qualification level that they're leaving with and entering our sector with is massive. You can walk on site and you, no disrespect, but your paint and decorator on site might only be qualified to level 2 status, and if that's acceptable, then great. But the level 2 offer could be seriously compromised if we don't get a sufficient amount of evidence to put forward to the DFE. So if you are able to help, or if you've got colleagues that could help, curriculum managers, directors, heads of department, please let us know. I'll pass on my email address when you receive the email later on today, and ask them to get in touch, because this is quite serious as well. Ultimately, we need learners on T-level, and we need an offer there as well to get learners on there. And I'm not saying learners will progress from level 1, level 2 onto level 3 T-level, but you could have learners that may take that path, is what I'm saying. So, because sometimes it takes 4 years for learners to be work ready. So, if you have got 10-15 minutes, literally it'll take no more than that. Please let us know, and I will pass your details along internally. And we are slightly ahead of time, actually, so we've got plenty of time if anybody's got any questions. Yeah, if you said yesterday for bricklaying, it's the same for all. It's the same for all, Steve. So thanks for that. I really appreciate it. Just to let you know, if you guys are registered, if you attended today or yesterday and you registered again for paint and plastering, they are going to follow a very similar format. So you may want to think again, or maybe get others that could attend on your behalf. So one colleague today attended in place of their manager. All you need is the link to this, the link to the session, and they will have that if they've registered for the event in their emails. So again, you're probably not going to hear anything new if you're registered for tomorrow as well. Dean has asked a question. Can I ask what the unique selling point is to discuss with potential students and parents? In what sense, with regards to T-levels? Because T-levels will be the only offer at level 3. It's more closely aligned to the apprenticeship standards. It is a level 3. It's highly regarded by industry. It's been developed by employers as well. So not just IFATE's employers, but we actually have employers on our board that are actual carpenters, joiners, bricklayers, plasterers, painters, etc. And all of the qualification content and the assessments gets reviewed by our employer and industry board, and it's all endorsed by them, and they've approved it all as well. So this has actually been written, actually endorsed by employers. If a learner was to do a T-level and then progress into an apprenticeship, now I know we said we're not going to cover progression, and I'm just going to mention this one point. It will reduce the amount of time you have to spend on an apprenticeship program. With regards to technicals, there won't be an offer on technicals at level 3, and ultimately we can see that if, hence the level 2 review, if technicals are pulled at level 2, this will be the only offer, because this is offered over 2 years as well. So if you can sort of envisage it as a sort of a level 2 and a level 3 program, badged as a level 3 over 2 year, then that's probably the best way to think about it. The other thing to add as well is, well, we heard in discussions, I don't think it's been approved yet, that this is also going to be available for adults, but the occupational specialist, you can either do it as both core and occupational specialism, or occupational specialism only. And I believe that's going to be funded through the AEB budget as well. So, and my previous college where I worked before I came to City and Guilds, the adults we had on our programs there would jump at the opportunity of completing a level 3 over 2 years, as opposed to going through the traditional level 1, level 2, level 3 diploma routes as well. So that could be massive as well for your learners. Just pick up apprenticeship. One more question: if learners complete this T-level, which level apprenticeship would they start on? We said we weren't going to mention progress or progression. Mike, nobody knows. If I'm honest, what is worth pointing out is the funding rules on apprenticeships hasn't changed. So if you were to map a T-level to an apprenticeship standard, from a level 3 to a level 2, for example, when we talk about levels, we've got to remember that a T-level is threshold competence, and an apprenticeship standard is vocational competence. And they're assessed in two different ways. Okay, so that's the first thing we've got to remember, this threshold competence versus vocational competence. And learners who have religiously done QCF level 3 programs, diplomas, level 1, level 2, level 3, have demonstrated threshold competence. They've never been vocationally competent. So when it comes to progression, if you can evidence that that learner needs to do at least 12 months and a day in an apprenticeship, then that apprenticeship will be funded. That's never changed. And ESFA told us that on a webinar we delivered just before Christmas, and all of the recordings of our previous webinars are on our T-level section of our website as well, if you wanted to have a look. What we are doing now, though, and we realise the importance of this, and if you actually listen to that webinar, you'll hear me actually challenge the ESFA on this, because we know at Sitting Guilds how important this is, because when you know, Dean was talking about USPs for this qualification, as a parent, as a student, you want to know what the end goal is. And the fact that this has been allowed to get to this stage without that end goal being clear is quite worrying. But nevertheless, what we're doing is we're working with IFATE and DFE and ESFA and everybody else in between to propose what progression may look like into apprenticeships. We can't share anything, obviously, because it's very much still in its infancy. And stuff that we're working on behind the scenes. So for a T-level learner, to answer your question, I'll give you a bit of information. There is only a level 2 bricklaying, there is only a level 2 paint and decorating, and there is only a level 2 plastering apprenticeship. So for those learners, there's only one way to go, onto the level 2 apprenticeship. For Carpentry Joinery, for the purpose of this, ultimately you would progress them straight onto the level 3. And that is kind of the picture we're going to sort of paint and what we're going to present. Have the diplomas that we use at the moment got definitive end dates where the T-levels take over as the recognised qualification? Colin, with regards to T-levels, it's the government is laying it out, the DFE is laying it out in a stage-by-stage process. So you've got kind of wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 providers. So we're currently heading towards wave 2. So obviously, if you guys are one of the 50, hopefully you are, hence why you're on this today. If you're one of the 50 providers from September, you will only be able to deliver this as a level 3 offer. You won't be able to deliver any other level 3s. Your college just simply won't be able to draw down the funding. Then for the wave 3 providers, there'll be, and that again is on the DFE website, IFATE's website, who the next round of providers will be from September 2022. And again, they'll offer the level 3 T-level in replace of any technicals that they had at level 3 and any diplomas that they had at level 3. And then again, September 23 comes round, and then there'll be more providers, and hopefully that'll be the last rollout of this. It'll be September 2023. I hope that answers your question, Colin. Is there any more questions coming in? Mike, I also hope I've answered your question as well. I know I have colleagues on the call. If any colleagues want to come in, if they want to add anything, please let us know. Just to again, just the last one as well. As much as you know, our technical qualification has been approved. If you're keen to be, you know, part of any validation processes, I know that some colleagues on this call today have supported through that process. And like Ali mentioned before, the evidence on BSc is where you can make a difference. Just look at the occupational specialisms as well. Forget about BSc, our own occupational specialisms. Tom, I hope you don't mind me name dropping you. Tom supported with the Carpentry Joinery along with other colleagues in other colleges. And what we were able to do is increase the GLH on the occupational specialisms from 500 to 600, recognising the need for more time to develop the hand skills accordingly. So, you know, and that was approved, and that's what we mean about the impact you guys can have when we validate or when we create and developing content and materials. So, like we mentioned, you know, we're always looking for people to support, either as an associate, to support or consultant rather with, you know, resource development, etc. So we have a range of different avenues at the minute that we're exploring, especially with short courses on where we need people to support them processes. So if you'd like to work with Sitting Guilds in the future, please let us know. Can you provide a link for the funding information you have just provided related to level 3? I personally, I don't have a link. It was basically, it's on one of our previous webinars. We can share a link to the previous webinar with you. And it was what the ESFA had mentioned about the funding on the apprenticeships. I know Alison's just put a link in there to what we have on funding on our website. Hopefully that's helpful for you. What you'll get in the follow-up email as well, you'll get our contact details. So please feel free to follow up after this session if you've got any questions or comments following today's session. Thank you, Dean. Again, we'll take that forward and pass that on to our resource team and our quad team with regards to development and resource product development or validation. Do we have any other questions? We've got 5 minutes left. Brilliant. Thank you, Craig. If you have any more questions, comments, please put your hand up. Come off mute. Let's have a chat. Put a camera on if you like. It does get lonely when you sit in one room every single day working from home. How is everybody finding working from home at the minute? I know that obviously we did a lot last year. If anybody's got any comments on that, how are you finding it? How are you finding the adaptation as well? Awful. That pretty much sums it up, I think. Yeah, I think it's challenging.
Yeah,
Hello, Tom. How are you doing?
yeah, not bad. The main one for me is getting a bit frustrating because of some awarding bodies haven't quite finalised the plan for the rest of the year yet.
That's not us, by the way. I was
With a limbo state of, are we doing it the same as last year, or is there a new approach this year?
Mm.
You know what I mean? So that's the main challenge, really, because obviously we can keep teaching and teaching online, but there'll come a point where we need to really ascertain what method of assessment we need to have in place. For example, are we going to be doing exams? Are the students going to do them at home? Are the awarding body going to make them?
Yeah.
Or are we doing it, adapted, or are they got to go do them the normal way? So
He's not referring to Sitting Guilds there, by the way, just for everyone on the call.
no, I'm not referring to sitting.
Our adaptation came out in well before Christmas. I know myself and Naz were working on that with Paul and Ian. So maybe if you want to have a chat with us, get your provision all over to Sitting Guilds, you'll be able to crack on with it, mate. Because we're getting a lot of queries now from centres about this because we're going to be at home until February half term. I think it was mentioned, wasn't it? So hopefully it's not as bad as last year. It's still awful. It's not ideal for students. They want to be in college and they want their hands on the woodwork, the bricks and that, don't they? And whatnot. But it's still not an easy process, and I think we've got to be understanding as well. To the learners, regardless of what digital age we live in, it's not easy learning at home when you've got so many distractions. Just look at me today. I've got a son downstairs who's homeschooling, and I've got a wife chasing us because he's got activities still to do. Then my window cleaner comes. The Amazon man did turn up as well, but we have an agreement with him. He just leaves it at my back door. There's just so much going on, and this is only in the past hour. So we appreciate how difficult it can be. But if you are a Sitting Guild centre, please reach out to myself, Paul, Ian, and we'll try our best to help you out as we can.
No, to be fair, with the courses we offer with Sitting Guilds, we've found them quite good actually, particularly through the lockdown. I'll be honest, I think yours was probably the best one. We work with all of them: BPEC, EAL, LOCN, Sitting Guilds, and yours was probably the clearest from day one last time round, and is still now.
Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
job, to be fair to them. I know they're working with City Girls on the T level, that they're quite structured. Some of the others ain't so much at the minute, which is disappointing.
What you'll find with our guides is myself, Paul, Ian, and Naz as well. I don't want to say validate, but we have we review these before they get published. So, and we all work with you guys every single day. And I'm less than 12 months out of FE, so I'm still fresh with regards to the challenges you guys face. So, we can really put an FE perspective on these guides, and we will challenge even our own assessment team when it's like, look, they can't do that at home. That would have to be delayed if it's practical, or this time round learners haven't gone through 5 to 6 months of training before the lockdown hit. So it's not just written by shirts and ties. It is validated and reviewed by us as well, so we can really make sure it's really deliverable and accessible as well.
No, it's good.
Brilliant. I appreciate that. Craig, I don't need your mobile number. I've got your email from this session, so we'll use that. Centres are better prepared this time around. Yeah, I would agree with that, Ali. It's better than March, but still not a match for being in work face-to-face teaching. Yeah, myself, Alison, Paul and Naz, we've been sat here since March last year. It does get you down. We'd rather be in centres engaging with you guys and delivering our networks. That's a part of the job that we really love to do. One that I haven't really fully experienced, having only joined in February, then Boris putting us in the lockdown in March. But I did get out to a couple, and it was absolutely fantastic. And hopefully, when this vaccine gets rolled out, we can get back on the road and see you guys, and maybe even shake a hand or two. Which we weren't allowed to do last year. So, but we've got it all to look forward to this year. Tom, you've got your hand up, mate?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt again. Was there any movement on a level 2 qual at level across carpentry and joinery? Thought about
incorporating carpentry and joinery together.
Yeah. Because I know that there is that's been created by another awarding body. To be honest, I think they've seen a bit of a gap there. It doesn't cover. It obviously doesn't go into the level of detail that you would if you did level 2 carpentry, like site diploma, level 2 bench diploma. As you don't do double the work, but they've picked certain elements that they feel will support them when they progress to doing this. If that makes sense. So
yeah, it was a bit more like of a extended level 1 rather than a. Do you know what I mean? Like a 6219 meets level 2 architectural joinery. It's
like for example, the joinery element of it might not involve machining, so it might be more, trim out as much of that side of it. They've essentially just chopped out as much as they can, but still give people enough experience so that if they do this course, then obviously the T level, they can do a bit of both.
Well, we've got the T level transition program that's coming as well, and I think what we would do there, I appreciate that feedback, and we'll certainly take it back for consideration. But if you were to say, right, we're going to put a level 2 out there, and they're not going to be either level 2 bench or site, and it's only really to help them get on when they progress to the T level. I think there's probably part of the transition program that will be offered. I think it could be maybe incorporated in that, but I think it's a bit of a risk if we badge it a level 2 that's not really a level 2 in either of them. So it's a bit risky to water down, and it's not.
So another awarding body, the other one that is now become another name. They've done it. They've actually made a diploma.
If we were to put it to our employers, they'd probably be reluctant, because we're not one for watering down qualifications just to put out there as an offer to make some money. Our level 2 site, and I think that's why we've got that survey still live, because we're still sort of collating that information. But I think it's certainly, we can certainly not recommend, we can certainly consider whether a new qualification would help support, or whether it can be part of a transition program.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. It's specifically just for the people that leave school and then they're not quite ready to go straight into the T level. They will be after a year. You know, that it's that bit where I think if there's going to be something that progresses into this nicely and seamlessly, that there's potentially something there.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but you know, it is what it is.
Okay.
Do you want me to add to that a bit, Jason? Just because I think, sorry, Tom, I think you are talking about the transition program there, which is being awarded. The contract for that has been awarded to the AOC, and they are developing the whole of the transition programs for T levels. So I would certainly register with the interest with them, because it's all about getting that learner prepared within that year to enter the T level in year 2, because obviously the funding goes on for 3 years, and there isn't meant to be a specific qualification within that. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's just different way of doing it. Really, it's just when you relate it to the actual specialism of carpentry and joinery. It's at the minute most of those students are picking one or the other at level 2. You see, they're not really picking both. But like you say, Jason's talked about an extended level 1. Maybe that's the room, and you know, maybe that's what it needs to be instead.
I think if you look at it, if a learner was not to go onto a T level with that qualification, how would that be looked upon in industry? And that's where at Sitting Guilds we'll be very cautious. You know, I'm not going to talk about others, and it's their prerogative if they want to produce something that's watered down. You know, that's entirely up to them. But if that learner was then to look to progress into industry, you know, via an apprenticeship, for example, and the approach that employer, and they say, well, I've got a level 2, but I've not really got it inside or bench, it's kind of half and half. So it's always a level 1.5, and it's not really a level 2. And I think it's just being cautious as well. Ideally, yeah, a program, the transition program, like Alison mentioned, to prepare learners to progress to the T level. Ideal if there was something involved in that. But an actual standalone qualification, it'd be very, like if you take our level 3 in this T level, the assessments in both are quite robust to both level 3 architectural and site carpentry. Whereas, you know what I mean?
That's worrying me.
It's one of the problems, but that's what I mean. Whereas if we were to do that at level 2, with regards to what our employers would expect and what the industry would expect, it's just a bit, I think it's a bit of a risk, really, personally. I don't know how others feel, whether it's, you know, do others on the call would that, if it is a possibility, is that something that others would like to see? Do you think there's any value in it? Please, I mean, just add a comment in the box or follow up on this email as well. Follow up by your email after the session today. Please feel free. And Tom, I might catch up with you after this as well, just to explore the options a bit better.
Yeah, cheers for that.
No problem at all. No problem, Craig. Thank you very much for attending. We've gone slightly over. I'm not really bothered in that sense, but I just hope that everyone has been able to get something from the session today. Just a word of warning as well, Tom, I know you're on yesterday and again today. Tomorrow's will be quite similar, so you know, you may want to get some other colleagues to attend.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I've only been popping in and out of them a little bit. Just wanted to bat around in case there's something different. I've not been fully on them all.
Yeah, the thing is with the sessions, it's more about getting the painters and getting the joiners together and getting the plasterers together, just to try and, like what you've done there, you know, just get some conversation going and questions around the actual occupational specialism. So what I will say to everyone is thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate it. The presentation will come out later today with all the links and all the surveys and everything. So please, you know, if you've got 10 minutes spare, please complete them. If you've got 15 to 10 minutes for a chat, let us know with regard to the level 2 review. Other than that, I hope you all stay safe and well. All the best for 2021, and we look forward to working with you soon. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.